Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm just making this video because I'm really far behind on a lot of the things that I've been documenting about on my blog. And one of the major topics that I have been documenting about with a lot of these stories that are going on in the mainstream media, it's all about the king symbolism. There's lots and lots of king symbolism. That's why Kanye West visited Donald Trump at the White House, and that's why Don Lemon later said that it was a minstrel show, because a minstrel is sort of like a comedian in medieval times and whatnot. And there's also this huge connection to the WWE and how all of these things are interrelated into a coded earthquake, a major earthquake that keeps being coded. And the reason that this is because in gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases, King Charles equals 107, just like if you read out the word earthquake. Earthquake equals 107. And in wrestling, if you remember, the character named Earthquake who broke Hulk Hogan's ribs, his name just so happened to be John Tenta in real life. John Tenta, 107, and he plays the character named Earthquake, 107. And think about the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble, think about that in regards to earthquakes, but also think about that in regards to the royal family. The Royal Rumble. If you go back and watch some of my videos that I'll leave in the description, I was talking a whole lot about the reason Ronda Rousey made her WWE debut at the Royal Rumble this year, where they had the first ever women's Royal Rumble, and then they were both won by Japanese people, right? But what I talked about in this video was all about the number 34, when Roddy Piper died, then Ronda Rousey just a day or 2 days later on 8-1, this big important number to all these bridge symbolism things that I've been talking about. But anyway, when Roddy Piper died, it was all about the number 34 and Ronda Rousey, and all of this was just before WrestleMania 34. And then just after WrestleMania 34, we got the greatest Royal Rumble that was held in Saudi Arabia. And I'll get to why that's important here in a minute. But what I wanted to point out is, just after Roddy Piper died, Ronda Rousey won her last UFC fight. And it just so happened to be at UFC 190. It was UFC 190. And the girl that she beat was Amanda Nunes. That equals 190. Also, Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper. 190. And this is really important to the king symbolism that I've been mentioning, because once again, if you write out King Charles, it equals 190. And the reason that all this is important, so we had the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia just after WrestleMania 34, that was on 4/27. And if you go to the date of this new wrestling match that they had in Saudi Arabia, it just so happens to be 190 days apart. So, you know, the greatest Royal Rumble that was in Saudi Arabia was 190 days before this new one that was in Saudi Arabia, and it just so happened to be called the Crown Jewel. And think about that in regards to the royal family. The WWE Crown Jewel. And also the host who came out and began the show of the Crown Jewel just so happened to be Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan was really important to what I was talking about with all of this. Hulk Hogan got his ribs broke on the Brother Love show by Earthquake, and he got his revenge at SummerSlam that was held in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Spectrum. And Hulk Hogan's really important because his birthday is August 11th, this big day that we've been talking about being foreshadowed for next year in regards to the, Israel and whatnot, and that just so happens to be the day of Tisha B'Av, where they celebrate, or, it's in remembrance of the destruction of the two temples. And that day also just so happens to be the birthday of the new mayor of San Francisco, London Breed. And I mentioned there's just so much important stuff that's going on. Just before Roddy Piper died, he also had this feud with Hulk Hogan again, and that was a little thing. And then Hulk Hogan had the racist comment or whatever and got kicked out of the WWE. Then Roddy Piper dies, and Roddy Piper was on that show, It's Always Sunny, in Philadelphia, and I talked about why it was important, and there's something really important to Philadelphia that is in relation to all of this. On the movie Happy Gilmore, if you go and look that movie up, he learns how to putt like 107 minutes into the movie even, and he learns how to putt on the Earthquake golf course, and then the building that falls over, it looks like the Comcast Center that is in Philadelphia. So there's something really important to these earthquakes and how it syncs up to Philadelphia. But Philadelphia has a ton of connections to San Francisco that I've documented over the years. And then, so I watched this WWE Crown Jewel. I didn't even get to watch it on the day that it came out, but I signed up for a free trial. I'd watched it on WWE.com and whatnot. But when I was watching the match, I noticed that they brought up King all over in the very beginning of this deal. So Hulk Hogan comes out and gets the crowd going and whatnot. And then they have this contest. It's the first ever World Cup in wrestling. And the first match just so happened to be Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton. And Rey Mysterio, for one, they kept telling us that his name means King Mystery. And they brought that up multiple times in this pay-per-view. But Rey Mysterio is also important because in 2006, he won the Royal Rumble. He was in there the longest or whatever. He's in there for 62 minutes. And Rey Mysterio equals 62 in Gematria. And a bunch of other things. And I documented about this because earlier this year, we got a story just before the Super Bowl that was in Philadelphia that I said was connected to an earthquake. It was a 4.1 earthquake. I can't remember exactly where the earthquake was, but it was felt in Philadelphia in November this year. It was a 4.1, and then I said it was connected to Philadelphia, and the Eagles went on to win the Super Bowl with 41 points, and of course the word Super Bowl, or the phrase Super Bowl equals 41 in Gematria. And let me find it here. I want to show you this post that I did. One of the Philadelphia Eagles players on January 31st wore this mask like a Mexican wrestler. And, it reminded me of Rey Mysterio and whatnot. And there was also this earthquake that was in Mexico this year. And then we had the game of the Raiders versus the Patriots, who the Eagles played. That was the game that was played in Mexico. And remember, Marshawn Lynch didn't stand for the United States national anthem, but he stood for the Mexican one and whatnot. And also, Rey Mysterio's real-life friend and also tag team partner, Eddie Guerrero, back in, just before he won this Royal Rumble, Eddie Guerrero died in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the Super Bowl was held. So I knew it was super connected to the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And it's just funny that this is how the crown jewel begins, with King Mystery, Rey Mysterio, defeating Randy Orton, and Randy Orton is the guy he defeated in that Royal Rumble in 2006. And then later on, they kept talking about Seth Rollins and how his nickname is the King Slayer. And they mentioned that multiple times. King Slayer. And the more and more you... All of this is just crazy, ridiculously related. So, I'm going to talk about Cleveland here in a minute, because it came down to, in this match, so Rey Mysterio ends up losing to... What did he lose to? The Miz, and then Dolph Ziggler defeated Kurt Angle, and The Miz and Dolph Ziggler were supposed to wrestle each other for the WWE World Cup Championship, but then The Miz hurt his knee, and Shane McMahon decided that he was going to participate, and he ends up going on to win this cup over Dolph Ziggler. And first off, the reason it's important, The Miz is from Cleveland, or the Cleveland area, and Dolph Ziggler is also from the Cleveland area. And remember, LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers being connected, right? A Cavalier is a follower of King Charles during the English Civil War. Then King James won the NBA Finals on the real King James's birthday. And they started their comeback when LeBron James wore his Ultimate Warrior shirt on the date of 6/12. And 6/12, Revelation 6:12 talks about the great earthquake. And just before this, we had Leicester, the soccer team. Let me find this here. Leicester, the soccer team, was named King Power. They had their owner, he died in the helicopter crash, right? And what did I say in my live stream? The helicopter crash is important because Shane McMahon was also in a helicopter crash in 2017 and supposedly survived. So Shane McMahon, the guy who wins this thing in Saudi Arabia, he was in a helicopter crash. We get this helicopter crash outside of King Power Stadium in Leicester City, the team who won in 2016, that was synced up to the Cleveland Cavaliers winning the NBA Finals. And, you know, LeBron wearing that jersey on the date of 6/12, it was also the day of the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting. And remember, this year we got the Austin Bomber that was in relation to Stone Cold Steve Austin, and we had that Great Mills High School shooting right around that same time, where the shooter was like something Wyatt Rollins, or his name was a bunch of wrestlers' names. And Mark Henry just so happens to supposedly know one of the victims of the Austin Bomber, and his birthday is 6/12. So, this helicopter crash was really important. It was even, you know, Leicester founded 134 years ago. If you write out King Charles III, it equals 134. And this helicopter crash also just so happened to happen 190 days after Queen Elizabeth's birthday. 190 days. What are the odds? This guy's the owner, the guy who died. He died 6 months and 24 days after his birthday. Also 207, the word Charles in Jewish gematria equals 207. King Charles III in Satanic gematria equals 624, which is this huge number I talked about all season, or all year. 624 is the day that leaves 190 days in the year. Queen Elizabeth's birthday is 6 months and 24 days before Prince Charles's birthday, her son. And then King Charles III equals 624 in Satanic. You know, so it's all super duper synced up. Also, you know, Donald Trump told the kid that he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair in 2000, whatever it was, 2015, when he was running for president, I think. He said he was the Batman at the Iowa State Fair, and then we had LeBron James who wore that mask that looked like Batman at one point in his career. But remember, Donald Trump was also in the WWE at one point, and he got a Stone Cold Steve Stunner, or a Stone Cold Stunner from Steve Austin even. So, it's absolutely all related to this WWE theme that's going on. And think about The Miz and Dolph Ziggler being from Cleveland. That's where Donald Trump had his national convention at Quicken Loans Arena, where the Cavs played just after the Cavs won on the real King James's birthday, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers with King James win the NBA Finals on the real King James's birthday. Then Donald Trump has his national convention there. And think about King James's birthday too. It's June 19th, 619. In wrestling, Rey Mysterio, his signature move is also called the 619. So, you know, how interesting. The 619. That's also King James's birthday. In gematria, too, if you read out Prince Charles in Jewish gematria, let me pull it up here. We'll pull up Jewish and Satanic. Jewish and Satanic. Prince Charles equals 404 in Jewish gematria, and if you read out King James, it equals 404 in Satanic gematria. And remember in 2015 when Pope Francis, who equals 404 in Jewish, just like Prince Charles, he visited the United States, and he arrived in the United States at 4:04 p.m., and it was 404 years after the King James Bible came out in 1611. And there's 404 verses in Revelation. Also, what's interesting about this 1611 number, and I'm talking about Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Jewish gematria equals 1611, right? So it's really important. Philadelphia is in the book of Revelation where it talks about the key of David. If you read out key of David, it equals 1,189. You know, that's how many chapters are in the King James Bible. If you read out Donald J. Trump, it equals 1,189. And Pope Francis's 1,189th day of being the Pope just so happened to be on Donald Trump's birthday in 2016, just before the Cleveland Cavaliers won the NBA Finals. And don't forget how the crown jewel was on 11-2, and Donald Trump was sicked up to the Cleveland Indians as well in the World Series that year, 2016, the 112th World Series that came to an end on 11/2, you know, and it was a lot to do with Cleveland. Cleveland equals 48, Donald Trump 48, Wall 48, Mexican-American War came to an end in the year 48. Pence became the 48th vice president. Prince Charles was born in the year 48, and they also had the closest supermoon that year on Prince Charles's birthday, where I said it was connected to an earthquake, and then we got a major earthquake on that same day in New Zealand. But Prince Charles was born in 48, and King Charles died at the age of 48. Charles II equals 48. I mean, the word Freemason also equals 48. It's really, really important here. We also then got the story of John Cena not attending the crown jewel because of the stuff with Jamal Khashoggi, or however you say his name, the guy from Saudi Arabia that was just murdered and whatnot. And what's interesting about that is that guy's name equals 612 in Satanic Gematria, like that earthquake day, you know. It's the same day that Donald Trump met Kim Jong-un, and in Sumerian Gematria, reverse Sumerian Gematria, World War even equals 612. So, very important they would meet on that day. I think about John Cena in regards to Pope Francis and his visit to the United States in 2015. It was important too, that Philadelphia train wreck that supposedly happened at 9:23 p.m. And then Pope Francis came to America on his 923rd day as being the Pope. And he went to the White House at 9:23 on 9:23. And LeBron James, he was in that movie called Trainwreck that came out that summer. And notice his name equals 923. The movie starts with Amy Schumer's character's 9 years old, and the rest of the movie takes place 23 years later. But it also starts off with her boyfriend being John Cena. And they make John Cena kind of look like he's a gay guy and whatnot. You know, so John Cena connected to LeBron James. It's all interrelated. And John Cena decided not to take a part in this in Saudi Arabia. Well, another thing in regards to Saudi Arabia is just before this, we got the story of the two Saudi Arabia girls drowning in the Hudson River that was super connected to what I was documenting about with Sully and the miracle on the Hudson. They even supposedly died 9 months and 9 days after the anniversary. And remember that movie Sully came out on 9/9, and that's the day Queen Elizabeth became the longest reigning British English monarch of all time and whatnot. It was really important. It synced up. And what are the odds they're from Saudi Arabia just after the Saudi Arabia stuff going on. But the reason I point out John Cena is because his birthday, he decided not to go. It was 189 days or also 190 days, a span, after his birthday. Once again, King Charles. This 189 goes along with it, and in multiple times that I've been documenting here. That's why we got that Lion air crash or whatever with 189 people on it. It's synced up to Prince Philip, who is Queen Elizabeth's husband. And I believe his birthday was 4 months and 23 days before this crown jewel, which is interesting, right? 4 months, 23 days. John Cena's birthday is 4/23. And I'll leave a link in the description. A long time ago, when Prince the singer died on Queen Elizabeth's birthday, and they did the purple Niagara Falls or whatever, where Vanity was from, Prince's girlfriend or whatever. A long time ago when they did all that, I put a video out about Prince on 4/23, and I had all of this crazy stuff that was going on with it. So I'll leave a link in the description, 4/23. That's also the day that King Charles II was coronated. We also had the birth of Prince Louis this year on 4/23. So it's an important number. I also found it interesting that, in regards to Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, the Iron Sheik, who has a feud with Hulk Hogan, back in the day, and his tag team partner died this year on the same day that Jerry the King Lawler's son died, right? So the King, his son died this year, but the Iron Sheik, born on the Ides of March, and Iron Sheik in Gematria equals 4/23. So, the Ides of March equals 6/24, just like King Charles III. So it makes me wonder if Prince Charles might just, I don't know, makes me wonder. I feel like maybe we might get the death of Prince Philip this year. Or maybe Queen Elizabeth will die and we're going to get King Charles III. I still need to, examine some more, but there's definitely lots and lots of parallels. I wish I could talk a little bit longer, but I'm going to go here. I just wanted to make a quick video and kind of just touch up on some of these things. I know I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to talk about, but there's a lot of different things. You can come and check out my blog and go back about a couple months and just read through all the posts, but what are the odds too? Really quick, we have the Los Angeles Lakers, who keep winning with 114 points, who LeBron James plays for. The last 3 out of the last 4 games that the Lakers played, and they also won. They won with 114 points. 114, 114, 114. And the only time they lost was on the game that was played on 11-4. Right? And in Gematria, did you notice that LeBron James equals 114? We just had the 114th World Series. Now the Lakers are going on to play on tomorrow night. They're going to play the Kings. What are the odds of that, right? You're going to play the Kings. If the Lakers win tomorrow night, they'll become 6-6 on the season. LeBron equals 66. LeBron James 66. Lakers 66. The word King equals 66. And Sacramento, California equals 89 and 619. King James equals 89. And remember, his birthday is on 619, the day the Cavs won. the word Charles equals 66 as well. So it's all super fitting, you know. Also, tomorrow's November 10th. If you write that out, it equals 190. If you write out King James's real name, or his full title, James the 6th and 1st, that equals 190 as well. So it's interesting how King James syncs up to Prince Charles and King Charles. But I also pointed out that King Henry VIII, he was coronated on this date of 624, which is really interesting because they tell us that modern Freemasonry was founded on 624 of the year 1717, and the word Jesuit also equals 624. So this number was really important to a lot of things, even before, you know, the date that they tell us modern Freemasonry was founded. But remember, he married Catherine of Aragon, and she was the daughter of Queen Isabella of Castile, who financed Christopher Columbus, supposedly. You know, he was sent by the Catholic Church to go kill the Native Americans and whatnot. So, you know, just pretty interesting. Her name equals the same as King Henry VIII, the guy that she got a divorce from, or he divorced her and whatnot, that he got kicked out of the church, that he got excommunicated by the 220th Pope, who was also the Pope when the Jesuits were founded. And, you know, Pope Francis, his birthday is 2 months and 20 days after the Jesuit anniversary. Supposedly the first Jesuit Pope, Prince Charles equals 220, Donald John Trump 220, but just wanted to touch up on some of this royal family stuff and show how it's interrelated within the WWE, and also all of this earthquake symbolism that is going on with it. And like I said in the beginning of the video, it's because King Charles equals the same as earthquake. Roddy Piper's full name equals 107 too. So it's very, very important. And that's why we got that Bridgewater shooting just after Roddy Piper died, and they killed the media people, right? Because the movie They Live is all about him going in and shooting up the media, right? And just before that, Disturbed released a video where they mimicked the movie They Live earlier that summer. And Disturbed is the one who writes Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song, so definitely all interrelated. Have a good one, though. Peace.